fine weather, so a good opportunity in between breaks from other jobs to get on with the garden railway. Not sure how much you will remember from previous videos, but the situation was that this track on this side was sagging by a couple of inches in the middle, and the back part there had also sagged. The reason for that is because the bottom ends of the support posts had rotted away. My solution to that, well, that's an extra post in there, I think, is to saw the bottom of the posts off and stand them on bits of concrete block. There's a little bit of extra support there, some support there, and that has pulled this up level. I've added a couple more screws in this area where the timber had twisted. Before and after it's difficult, but anyway, these planks warp and they curl and twist, and so you need enough bracing underneath to keep them flat. But I found that a couple of screws have enough control to be able to pull them flat after a twist or a warp, so that's a little bit better. You'll see there's a bit of a twist there, and I don't think there's anything underneath that corner for me to screw into, so that will require packing if I needed to. So the other bit, I've thrown track over here where you can see it, not quite as bad, but if I turn round like that, you can see how this is inch thick board. That's a good inch down there, and similarly along there. And if you go back in my videos to when I was fabricating this, I made up what I called an I section girder or H section girder out of the wood. It had the long length of fence, tannalized fence. I screwed strips onto the edges of it to make what looked like a very strong girder section of timber, and then supported that at infrequent intervals. Well, over time that has twisted and sagged, and it's harder to retrofit posts. So what has worked and stayed in place is support posts with bracing underneath, and it was 2x1 bracing between the posts underneath these boards to support them at 5 foot to 6 foot intervals. And this bridge piece over here has got a good 6 foot gap, bridged with 2x1 timbers, and then the other plank screwed on top. So you can see that there aren't an immense number of support posts, but 10 years on I'm having to do some remedial action here to get this level. And there's the station siding area to do, which was done with some exterior grade plywood. I'll just show you that. So this exterior grade plywood looks really quite nice there in the middle, but the edges do absorb moisture, and it cracks in and denatures. It's lasted a few years, but it's had its day. This is a non-tannalized piece of wood, but because it's not been permanently wet, it has survived really well. So where I've seen the rot is where it's in contact with moisture, in contact with the ground. Timber that is raised away from the ground and is exposed to the air, that's not covered with roofing felt, lasts quite well. And so I think you can even use normal timber as long as none of it is in contact with the ground and it isn't covered with roofing felt. Why? The roofing felt will trap in any moisture that gets underneath it, and that is what rots the ground, traps in the moisture, and even when tannalised. My previous little video, it showed the rot. These are just my thoughts. You can see it here in the good daylight. There's the rot at ground level, even on tannalised timber. And staves, bits of wood, which are allowed to dry. Here's a piece that is 30 years old. I've got several pieces like this, which are from an old bit of fencing where they are above ground and allowed to dry. Oh, they're in there, I won't pull them out. There's a piece, right? This has been pulled out of the fence, and 30 years on, there's plenty of strength in that piece of wood because it has been exposed to the elements. That means it gets wet, but then it dries out, and that's what keeps the wood in workable condition. And this is more ply, where it's allowed to dry out more of the wood, it doesn't rot.